Imagine pulling thousands of crabs straight from the ocean and walking away with nearly $1 million in just 1 week. Sounds unbelievable, right? Yet, that's exactly what happened when over 20,000 blue crabs were harvested in just 7 days, bringing in an incredible $800,000. But here's the twist. This isn't just about scooping crabs out of the water and cashing in. Behind that jaw-dropping number is a fascinating world of ocean tides. Heavy traps, sleepless nights, and a demand so high that seafood markets are willing to pay top dollar for every catch. Most people see a crab on a dinner plate and never think about the journey it took to get there, or how much money is moving behind the scenes. So how does a single week of backbreaking work create such a massive payout? Today, we're diving deep into the untold story of the blue crab harvest, from what makes these creatures so valuable to the risks that come with chasing them. And finally, how everything adds up to a number that sounds too big to be true. Stick around, because the reality behind this headline might just change the way you see seafood forever. So all you have to do is just explore. Blue crabs aren't just another seafood. They're the lifeblood of entire coastal economies. Found mostly along the Atlantic coast and the Gulf of Mexico, these crabs are famous for their sweet, tender meat, and their bright blue claws make them instantly recognizable. Restaurants fight to keep them on the menu because the demand never stops. From steamy crab boils in the South to high-end seafood platters in major cities, blue crabs are a culinary staple that people are willing to pay a premium for. But their value goes far beyond taste. In some regions, the blue crab industry pumps millions into local communities, supporting not only fishermen, but also processors, distributors, and restaurants. And with global demand for seafood climbing year after year, the price tag on these crustaceans has reached staggering levels. What makes them even more fascinating is how quickly their value can shift depending on the season. During peak months, when crabs are plentiful and fat with meat, the competition among buyers drives prices higher than ever. That's why a single, successful harvest can turn into a massive payday almost overnight. But catching them isn't as easy as it sounds. These creatures are quick, crafty, and heavily regulated to protect the population from overfishing. To really understand how 20,000 crabs could be caught in a single week, we need to look at the intense process that brings them from the ocean floor to the dock. Harvesting blue crabs is a grind that demands both skill and endurance. It all starts before sunrise, when crews head out on boats loaded with crab pots, large wire traps baited to lure crabs inside. Each pot has to be dropped at the right depth, in the right spot, and at the right time. Too shallow and the catch is small, too deep, and the crabs may never find the bait. Timing is everything because tides and currents can make or break the harvest. Once the traps are set, the waiting begins, but it doesn't last long. Crews work almost non-stop, pulling up heavy pots filled with snapping blue crabs, rebaiting them, and tossing them back into the water. It's a repetitive cycle that stretches across long hours, often in brutal heat or cold, with little rest in between. Every catch must be sorted quickly, separating legal-sized crabs from the undersized ones that have to be released. Regulations are strict, and a mistake can mean fines or losing a license altogether. What looks like easy money on paper is in reality a physically punishing routine that tests the limits of anyone on board. Yet, for those willing to put in the effort, each trap pulled up could be the difference between a modest paycheck and a record-breaking week. And when you scale this process up across hundreds or even thousands of traps, that's when the numbers start to become staggering. Catching a few crabs for dinner is one thing, but harvesting 20,000 in a single week is a completely different world. To reach those numbers, the operation has to run like a machine. Dozens, sometimes hundreds of traps are dropped and retrieved every single day, with crews working in shifts to keep the cycle going. Boats are loaded to their limits, returning to shore again and again to unload and pack the catch before heading right back out. Every step has to be efficient, from where the traps are placed, to how fast they're pulled up, to how quickly crabs are iced and stored for transport. One mistake, like leaving traps too long or mishandling the crabs, can cost thousands in lost profit. The sheer volume of handling tens of thousands of live crabs means a huge amount of coordination. It's not just about manpower. It's about timing, fuel, equipment maintenance, and an almost military-like level of organization. Think of it as a race against the clock, where every hour wasted could mean fewer crabs caught and less money earned. And while the process may look chaotic from the outside, the most successful crews have it down to a science. It's this scale of relentless, high-stakes harvesting that makes the idea of turning 7 days of work into over $800,000 even possible. But volume is only part of the equation. The real surprise comes when you break down the money. So, how does 20,000 blue crabs turn into over $800,000 in just 1 week? The answer lies in both quantity and market demand. Each crab isn't sold for pennies. Depending on size, quality, and the season, a single blue crab can fetch several dollars. Multiply that by thousands, and suddenly, the math starts to make sense. Seafood distributors and restaurants pay a premium during peak demand, especially when crabs are plump and full of meat. In coastal regions and major cities, live blue crabs are considered a delicacy, and that drives prices even higher. Add to that the fact that seafood prices can spike when supply is low, and you get weeks where one successful harvest can generate staggering revenue. But it's not just the crabs themselves that make the payout so high. Many crabbers also sell soft-shell crabs, prized for their unique flavor and texture at an even higher price point. When you combine bulk sales with specialty markets, the numbers stack up quickly. The result is that one intense week of hauling, sorting, and selling can rival what some people make in an entire year. Of course, this isn't profit yet. It's gross revenue, the big number before costs are taken out. Still, it's easy to see how the lure of such a huge payout keeps crabbers pushing their limits, chasing tides and braving unpredictable waters in hopes of hitting that jackpot week. That eye-popping figure of $800,000 sounds amazing, but the reality behind the scenes is far more complex. Fuel alone can eat up a huge portion of revenue, especially with boats running non-stop and traps being pulled hundreds of times a day. Then there's gear. Crab pots, bait, nets, and ice are constantly being replaced or repaired, and every mistake can cost thousands. Labor is another major factor. Crews don't work for free. and the intense schedule demands experienced hands, willing to endure long hours in harsh conditions. Beyond money, there's risk. Weather can turn a productive week into a nightmare, with storms, high winds, or unexpected tides destroying traps or forcing boats to stay docked. Even the crabs themselves carry a level of uncertainty. Too many undersized or female crabs can't be sold, reducing the total catch. Legal regulations also play a big role. Harvesting outside allowed seasons exceeding limits or mismanaging traps can result in fines or revoked permits. And finally, sustainability is always a concern. Overfishing blue crabs can threaten their populations and the local ecosystem, meaning every successful harvest must balance profit with environmental responsibility. In short, while the headlines promise a massive payday, the truth is a high-stakes operation where one misstep can turn a week of hard work into financial disappointment. Harvesting 20,000 blue crabs in just 7 days might seem like a dream job when you see that $809,000 number. But the reality is a mix of grit, skill, and high stakes. Behind every dollar earned is a week of relentless work, careful planning, and navigating unpredictable waters. It's a world where timing, precision, and experience make all the difference, and where success depends on both human effort and nature's cooperation. Yet the payoff is undeniable. For those who can handle the physical and logistical challenges, a single week can generate life-changing revenue. It's a reminder that headlines often simplify the story, but behind the scenes is a carefully orchestrated operation that few fully understand. Blue crabs aren't just food. They represent opportunity, risk, and the balance between humans and the ocean. So next time you see a plate of crab, remember the journey it took to reach your table, the crew that risked it all, and the weeks of planning that made it possible. For many, it's not just about the money. It's about the thrill of the harvest, the connection to the sea, and the challenge of turning skill into extraordinary results. And in that world, every trap pulled is a step closer to that astonishing payday. Proving that sometimes nature and ambition can create outcomes you wouldn't believe if you didn't see them with your own eyes.